Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
We are Real Kyper and Bourne. Live streaming on your Sportsnet YouTube channel. And if you are not subscribed to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify, what is wrong with you people?
I know, just do it.
This is the place to be. Especially as we tee up Game 2. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brendeo, and Jennifer Rolnick. Big wave from Jen. And, of course, a calmer Sammy McKee.
Super dressed Sammy McKee today.
Big night.
Full suit.
Working the game. He'll be at Scotiabank Arena. He'll be picking up the vibe early.
You know, it's a travesty that people are clamoring for the fan or the Sam Cam. The guy's in a full suit, and we just stuff him in a room there. They don't get to see him.
It's a sport coat and nice jeans.
But I like you hidden.
What is it?
I've gone to Don Valley Golf Course twice with Sammy.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be seen somewhere good with him?
I have turned him into a little bit of a celebrity monster.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, it is a little bit. It is.
What are you talking?
You know, and I want to bring you along slowly. I don't want you to end up like a child star who's in rehab years later.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
I can't have you. I don't know, Gary Coleman on me.
You know, you don't want him to be the American League player who gets too much too soon, gets entitled. You know, he's got to earn it, right?
Yeah.
Earn it a little bit.
He does.
When you said American League, I was thinking of baseball, and I was like, oh, the AHL.
Yeah, you're a DH.
Yeah.
So what did we pick up on our first off day between games for the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning? Because prior to Game 1, we did pick up this. I don't know if it's a Cooper versus Keefe, but it had started with Sheldon with his somewhat
borderline
violent series, and then Cooper playing off of that without even puck drop.
Borderline violent. And hasn't even played yet.
Is it safe to say that media game between these two head coaches had picked up between Game 1 and puck drop?
Well, yeah, and I would say it was probably, if you're Sheldon Keefe, really disappointing to find out that the first game Tampa used Nerf sticks and didn't try, according to John Cooper. That, he really dismissed that Game 1 outcome with just being like, we weren't there.
We did address that yesterday.
Yeah.
And I like John Cooper. There's a lot of things that you love about him and what he's been able to get out of his club the last 2 years. Tip your hat off. But as I stated yesterday, I found it disrespectful to what the Toronto Maple Leafs did in Game 1. They needed some sort of acknowledge out of John Cooper that, hey, give them credit. Give them a little bit of credit. Tip your hat off to them. Do just a little something. Talk all you want about what your team didn't do.
Yeah.
But at least a little bit of, hey, they came to play, but nothing.
No, two-time champs. He said, we've earned it. They haven't. We're giving them no love.
And did he double down on that?
I'd say doubling's an understatement.
He had a bit of a performance at the stage again today, Johnny Cooper.
Let's have it.
He's coaching. He's coaching hard here, boys. I will get into it more after we hear the first one here, but do we want to start with him downplaying the crowd?
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge, Sheldon, you've been our lead all season long.
We're not putting you in the press box.
We're not making you a healthy scratch on Kyper's Clippers.
There's no Spezza treatment here.
But we will start today's show on a beauty from John Cooper, head coach of Tampa Bay. Let's have a listen.
I don't think for us it didn't have a negative effect, positive effect either way. I did
the crowd
like the environment though. You know, playing in this city quite a bit. In the league, you see, regular season games are different, and sometimes the crowd strolls in. When do they stroll in? In the lower bowl. A little, yeah. So they definitely were not late for last night. So that was a lot of fun to see, and the place was alive. So it was a sweet environment.
A sweet environment. Of course, he's talking about the crowd. Sheldon, after game one, acknowledging that the crowd were his first star of the game.
Yeah, and Cooper gave that's the Bay Street sushi crowd. They're not usually like this. He wasn't right, you know. They were sweet.
What he said there without saying it is, the crowd here is usually terrible. That's what as a Leaf fan who goes to a lot of games for Sportsnet 590 The Fan,
Environment.
it's a sweet environment. I took that as a direct shot.
Feels a little bit like we're stirring the pot here.
It's a direct shot to Sheldon, but he ain't that wrong when it comes to the Bay Street guys being late for their platinum seats.
No, he's bang on.
Bang on.
Bang on. It hurts a little.
It does.
Yeah, it's not the best crowd at times.
But you got to understand, too, those Bay Street guys are in for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And they love the team.
In tickets.
Yeah.
But they ain't coming out until they cut a deal that helps them pay for those seats. Do you understand? Yeah. And if it means 10 or 15 minutes late, they're not dumb enough to not understand why they bought the seats in the first place. They're underneath cutting deals so they can pay for those seats.
That's a tough concourse, too, sometimes.
But
give a little credit.
It is a shot to, I think, Sheldon's first star of the game comment.
Yeah, I think so, too. There's a definite theme here with a little bit of pushback to one another. You know, and I think that something that stemmed over to Kyper was the physical aspect of the game and how Sheldon Keefe talked about borderline violent. There was some borderline violence, and it ended up that Tampa really didn't have their way with the Leafs, which I think physically was a surprise in the first game.
And was that the strategy all along for Sheldon to bring awareness to it, bring the officials to it? The penalties, we did not expect that somewhat of a parade to the penalty box.
Yeah, it went as best it could have for the Leafs in the end.
And I'll just chime in here. We'll talk about the other games later, but I was watching every game last night. I put on a clinic last night, boys, watching hockey. Holy smokes. Just boom, 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 just clicking away. But it was a completely different whistle. You watch that Caps-Washington game, there was murder getting away with in the third period and the second period. It was a completely different whistle in that game than what we saw in Toronto and in Tampa. So be very interested to see what we're getting tonight.
Okay, just to throw it a little bit off topic here. How important was the remote last night?
Oh my God. Clicking my finger. I got my finger.
I wasted 10 minutes trying to figure out how to do like a split screen on my TV.
No. I wasted 10 minutes looking for it.
Looking for what?
The remote.
Oh.
And I'm like freaking out. I'm yelling at the top of my lungs. My wife put it in the cradle. I'm like,
the cradle?
The cradle. The recharge cradle.
Oh, that's the
last
He's
place
got like
I
looked.
Humble brag. You're going to charge your remote.
What are you doing to me?
It's not where it goes.
I got to take the batteries out of my remote and rub them together and blow on them for my remote to work.
Kipper was like, I couldn't find the butler to turn it on anywhere.
Do you think the game gets called as tight as it did in game one? I cannot see it. I saw 2-3 marginable calls.
Yeah. I think that Keefe was prepared for what he expected to be a tough game from Tampa, and he was preparing the refs for what he expected to come from Tampa. And it sounds like what John Cooper expected to come from Tampa as well, and it just didn't. So that was sort of a strange thing. Let's have Cooper talking about their physical or their lack of physical play.
The physical aspect of the game is a part of our plan. I mean, in our past couple of years, that's been a big staple of ours, the wear teams down. I don't think it was in our, we wanted to be more physical in the game. We just weren't. And for whatever reason, but it's part of it. And that's part of the grind. And you never know how long the game is going to go, whether it's going to be 60, 70, 80, you have your heart on defensemen. You may not see results in the first period, the second period, but you might see it in the third. But if you're not doing it at all, it becomes an easy night. And I thought it was we let them off the hook. It was an easy night for them.
Yeah, that would be the biggest motivator tonight for Toronto to go up 2-0. That comment right there.
Oh yeah.
That would be the last thing I'd probably say.
It was we let them off the hook. It was an easy night.
I would play that clip.
That's good, Derek.
I would play that clip for the guys.
Yeah.
That's the respect that he has for you.
You know, for as prepared a guy as I think John Cooper is, I think if you've been watching this Leafs team over the past 5 years, the best thing John Cooper could have done to prepare his team for tonight is to say, I'm going to say a bunch of stuff in the media I don't mean, and then go out in the media and say, I don't know if we can handle that hockey. God, are they good? Did you guys see how good that Leafs team is? They're fast, they're tough, they're good, and let them just believe it. Because this Leafs team, whenever they get feeling themselves, they don't show up. Whenever they think it's going to be easy, they don't show up.
I think it's the opposite. I think
when they think it's a hard game, they bring it.
No. When I say that it's the opposite, I really believe that John Cooper is trying to divert the attention off of how fast they are into
really
how bad we were. It wasn't that they were fast. It was that we were that bad, that slow. I don't think if we know what he's saying publicly, can you imagine how he's dissing the Leafs behind closed doors?
I imagine all their clips are them making are Cooper showing plays they normally make that they didn't make. He's going, Stammer, you're on the back door, you don't get a piece of this one, or Cooch on the power play breakout. Like, all you got to do is make this open pass, and it's not that hard. It's just them, to me. They would be looking at their own game going, we weren't it. That's not the team we are. We're better than this.
Yeah, and it's something I noticed with Kucherov in the first game was he loves to pass. I know that. But there's a lot of times where he seemed like he was not afraid to shoot, but very hesitant to shoot at different moments. He just seemed off. And I don't know if that had to do with the Leafs, their aggressiveness on their defense or whatever, but it just seemed like he was a little bit hesitant to shoot. So be interested to see what he does tonight.
Agreed. So much better when he shoots because then he can fake
5-minute major and how they swarmed and how they gave him no time to breathe, I think completely threw them off the rest of the game. Their timing, whatever you thought that you had coming in with your momentum and your 40+% on the power play. And I'd have to kind of revisit the last few games of their season. But we know they had the stretch where they were really bad. And then they had a stretch when they were really good. But in the final 2 weeks of the season, they didn't see that type of pressure.
No. It's interesting. Someone in the YouTube chat just said Cooper is good with his ASE, is good with his choice of words. He is a lawyer after all. And I do think that the word choice that he makes here is not unintentional at times. The slight that it was easy for Toronto. Do you want to get to how Sheldon responded to that? Is it because I think it's interesting that it seems like it should be offensive for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but to me, Keefe went out of his way to not say, well, F him, we are the better team, or he doing his best to avoid the war of words.
Let's listen to Sheldon respond to Cooper saying that it was an easy game.
Well, I don't coach Tampa. I mean, he's going to have his thoughts and his opinions on his team, of course, and probably not unlike when we went down there and we lost 8-1, that he probably felt really good about his team and what they did. And then I, of course, didn't feel very good about what we did. So I think that's just natural for coach to do that. But we obviously did a lot of good things in the hockey game that we can build upon. But at the same time, that's not the Tampa team that we prepared for. So we're expecting to see that team here tonight.
Sammy, he was a little bit more reserved today, was he not?
Yes.
Sheldon?
Yes. I listened to, he talked for about 8 minutes, which for him is basically 2 minutes, but usually talks like 13, 14 when he's feeling really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he was definitely a lot more closed off today, a lot less. He didn't have as much praise, wasn't as, we talked about how excited he was after the last game.
Really was.
Yeah, and how fired up and how the much praise he was heaping on everyone. It was a different guy today, which, hey, it's game day, maybe a little bit more locked in.
Which, for me, tells me that quite possibly a Brendan Shanahan maybe had a talk with him and maybe just calmed him down a little bit. I think he does have a tendency to get over chatty
I think
with the media.
He and Kyle both get excited in the moment. Like you see Kyle last night when Matthews scored, the night before when Matthews scores the one-timer, his celebration on that, like
looks similar to mine, actually.
OT winner celebration, like wants it.
Yeah.
But then the next day they both regroup pretty well. A cooler head, some time to reflect. It's like and then try to bring your team back down to earth, I think.
For me, Sheldon was way too complimentary across the board after opening up a Stanley Cup playoffs after one game.
It's just, what was he supposed to say after that game?
I think especially with a veteran now, Cooper's the longest tenured head coach in the National Hockey League.
By miles.
So
by like 4 years.
You don't want to go toe-to-toe with this guy in the media. You don't want to.
Oh, he's savvy.
You don't want to.
I agree with this.
You do not want to go and have the media bait you into a Cooper says this. Now, what do you think? I liked his answer today.
Agree.
I liked his. I don't coach Tampa, right? At the end of the day, still the Stanley Cup champions. Pretty good record. We won just one game. That's it.
Yeah.
That you don't need to go anywhere else. I think that was either a Brendan Shanahan maybe talking to him or somebody else getting to him, or this could be Sheldon on his own just saying, whoa, take a deep breath here. Don't get caught into all of this. I don't need to turn myself into a media star or a media, I don't need to suck the oxygen out of this series on every word I say.
Well, and also there's the element of how do you get your team up for the next game? Like, how does he go in tonight and sell the Toronto Maple Leafs players on, we need to be the team we were last night? Like, you need to talk Tampa back up to that team, right? Like, you need to go back in there and say, we're not playing game one Tampa. We're playing the Tampa Bay Lightning that have won cups, that have never lost back-to-back games in 13 years. In 2 years, over 13 losses. Like, part of his job today is to sort of squash that energy and re-prepare the guys.
In about 20 minutes, Jim Ralph will join us. Of course, he does the color analyst for the Toronto Maple Leafs here on Sportsnet 590, The Fan. He's been a big piece of our show all season long. Does a terrific job. Looking forward to get his thoughts going into Game 2. And then after the break in Hour 2, our good friend Colby Armstrong is going to stop by.
Colb.
Of course, he'll have plenty to say, not only on Toronto and Tampa, but Pens in triple overtime, which...
Preview of that conversation. Hey, Sid. Sid's still really good, eh? Yeah, still good.
Yeah.
And we've got talk on Calgary and Dallas, Klingberg versus Anderson. Who saw that one in the round one playoff fight division?
Nobody. Daryl Sutter's going to weigh in later, too. Not as an interview, but clips.
Oh, he was like, you got Sutts.
Sutts is coming in.
Good get.
All right, let's stay with John Cooper for a minute here, because this goes into what we can expect for Game 2. But overall, let's go to him for his thoughts on the resilience of his Tampa Bay Lightning this time of year to not string losses.
Good group at turning the page. They dig their heels in when they're pushed up against a wall. I mean, it's Game 1. We've had a pretty good history of taking Game 2. Again, it's not, guaranteeing future success tonight, but the goalie finds a way to get himself dialed in these situations. Not that he doesn't in other scenarios, but give him, 60 minutes of a game, especially put a few by him. He's a pretty proud guy, and when he's got his focus in like he has in these scenarios, he's pretty tough to beat.
It's clear he's got stars on defense. He's got stars up front, but he knows where his bread's buttered.
Yeah, for sure. The goaltender. And, when they have lost game one of a series, which has happened 3 times in the last 2 years, in series they've gone on to win, the next games they've won 3-2, 3-2, 4-3. They haven't come out and smoked their opponent. They've just gotten one more save. They've done that little bit more, that's sort of like the difference between being champions and not. And I fully expect tonight to be a grindy game. I expect it to be really close, and I expect it to be really hard to beat Vasilevskiy. I would be shocked if we're sitting here tomorrow and they hung another 5 on Vasilevskiy.
So this stat was floating around. We didn't mention it yesterday, and it's a good day to mention it today. And I saw some people kind of bristling at it because there's a bigger sample size in Vasilevskiy's playoff career than the last 2 seasons. But in the last 2 playoff years, he is 14-0 with a .951 save percentage and a 1.20 goals against after a loss.
Wow, that's wild.
Great stat. What you're saying is due.
Bingo. And I got that text sent to me this morning by a friend of mine, and my exact response, Kyper, was exactly what you said. He's due for a stinker. So hopefully it's tonight. But those are some daunting numbers for Keefe and the Leafs.
Fall on him. Just fall on him.
Okay, so there were times when he still looked really good in game one.
Oh, yeah. No, he made a couple saves along the way, for sure. I mean, it wasn't an easy night for him. I don't think there was any point where I was like, oh, Vasilevskiy. The guess on Marner looked terrible. But I don't even know if he could have got, I don't know. It was a tough spot. He kind of hung out to dry there.
You do expect a closer game. Where I think Tampa Bay is going to have a tough time here is matching the energy that the Toronto Maple Leafs have. Like there's a much more, it's a much more natural energy coming off a team like Toronto than it is. For me, if we go back 3.5, 4 weeks where we've seen them really bad, really good, and then really bad again, it's just not. It's work now for this team to bring their energy up. And if the Leafs do lose tonight, or if they do lose the series, it won't be because their energy dropped.
Right.
It'll be because they're making some bad mistakes. They didn't get a key save. Just look at the last few years in the playoffs, and that will be the case. I looked at Tampa in that loss, and they could not match the energy. And even if they try to dig sometimes, and you've been through this as an athlete, you just try to dig down deper, and it's just nothing's there. Nothing's there.
Yeah.
Like trying to grab a handful of water in a bucket.
So I think all coming kind of piggybacking off what you're saying there with the energy and matching the Leafs' energy, I think there's just way more for the Leafs to lose in terms of the pressure.
And they acted like it in game one.
They acted like the more desperate team.
They're scared of the alternative.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
which is what they got last year, what Marner got and Matthews and just that whole, like that's where their skin's thicker. But they played scared to experience that again. I don't know what the scared part would be for Tampa Bay. Is it, well, we blew a chance to be 3 in a row?
Still pretty good to get 2.
I get an early vacation.
No, I do think, though, what you're talking about is the difference between, this is a big thing in sports, love to win and hate to lose. Everybody loves to win, right? Like when rookies come into the league, man, it'd be fun to win a Stanley Cup. I'd love that. That'd be unbelievable.
Like I would think it'd be...
The hatred to lose is something you got to develop. It's got to harden.
I would be really impressed if Tampa found a way to look like they're just scared to blow a chance to make history.
Yeah.
To me, this is a really pivotal game.
Yeah.
Like, Leafs up 2-1, and now you're asking Tampa Bay to beat the Leafs 4 out of 5 games.
Yeah, if they're up 2-0, yeah.
If they're up 2-0.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this is huge right now. Leafs could really put a foot on their neck. tonight.
There is, I know. And you know what's crazy is I think they put themselves in a good spot here. There is the feeling like if Tampa was going up to Toronto here at the start of the series, they would have been aiming for a split. They can still accomplish their goal. So it can kind of render that first game moot. They come out and they outplay Toronto. They get some more saves, and all of a sudden it's 1-1. It's like, well, now Tampa's got home ice, and the whole thing, the doubt starts to set in again.
Like
big swing.
I do agree with Cooper. He just he just throws it that we weren't very good and it was easy. But the reason why he probably feels that way is just because they just did not bring it. They didn't bring that energy. There should be a natural energy in game one that you did not see out of Tampa Bay. I'm interested in the first
crowd stole it.
Game one is interesting because that's when you would expect it to be at the all-time highest, right? When you would expect Tampa to come shot out of a gun.
Of like, we've been through this. You guys calm down.
Maybe let the crowd and everybody get all fired up for game one, and we'll get the split in game two. I did wake up this morning thinking that the Lightning would win tonight, but that's just because I'm a Leaf fan. Yeah, I am feeling a little.
I don't think it's going to be that easy for them. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm actually surprised at your Leafs optimism today.
Maybe there is an energy switch for them. Maybe they're that good.
You worry about a team that thinks they can flip it on and off.
But I didn't see a team that was desperate to miss out the opportunity to win 3 in a row last game.
Right.
Didn't see it.
I do think tonight is going to be a splendid hockey game.
And
I really, really do think.
The Leafs are fielding their whole hockey team tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, all hands on deck. I don't know if Sandin would have been available to them, but seems like pretty much available, or everyone available. Michael Bunting draws in for game 2, which is, I think, great news. The top line will be reunited, pushes Kasha down to the 4th line. The second line is going to look like Tavares with Mikheyev and Kerfoot. So there's a bit of a switch around here.
All right, let's go to a Kipper's Clipper on Sheldon talking about his fully healthy hockey club.
Yeah, I do. I haven't thought about it in that context. And like I said, our guys are dealing with different things, but it is nice to have options here. Like to have both Bunting and Kasha come into the series here. That makes a big difference for us. And then on defense, just the same, with the depth that we have there too, and then in goal too. So all of that, this time of year, that's what you want to have. Obviously, we hope that we can maintain that, but at the same time, we feel like we've got support in the event that something occurs.
Very seldom you get your lineup and you get to pick and choose.
Probably won't again all playoffs. Just the way it goes.
Yeah,
thoughts on Spezza?
Feel for him.
Yeah,
because I would like him to get in there, but I think that what they have now is a better option than with him. Don't you? Putting Bunting on the top and having Kerfoot there, Kosh on the 4th line. You don't lose any speed in the bottom half of your lineup, putting Kosh on the 4th line. Do worry about him banging around with those guys at the bottom of the lineup on Tampa, but the lineup looks pretty deep at the moment.
And with the exception of Simmons, anybody can move up or move down.
Correct.
Very true.
And that's a luxury that.
And even Simmons is a 25, 30 goal guy at one point. Like he's not.
Even if you need to bump him up there just to give somebody some breathing room.
Yeah. Isn't there? Everyone can play.
Won't hurt you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's not about up front. It's about that back end. And I just think, besides Kasha, the Muzzin look in game 1 was really a solid, convincing, don't have to worry about this guy too much here. Like, I mean, I know you're shift to shift, game to game here,
right?
But come on, that was far cry from stuck in cement boots Muzzin on the last 2 weeks.
He's a good guy a good example, someone who I think benefited from the PK early because he got out there. He got to, get hit by a few pucks and do the things that make him feel useful to get into the game. I just can't help but feel like the addition of Mark Giordano gives them so many guys that you feel comfortable going over the boards. Like whether it's Brody or Muzzin or Giordano, those guys all make me pretty comfortable. And Morgan Riley is their top guy. you're a lot of guys in where you feel okay about whatever their matchup is going out there. So yeah, Muzzin goes a long way, but just the depth is different this year than it has been in past seasons.
I feel like they haven't lost a ton of games with Giordano in the lineup. Like
no,
really
they're 16-5.
16
no, they're
and
better
5
than that.
Are they?
I think they're better than that.
They've been
Might be 19-3 or 4 or something.
Yeah, okay. I'm going off a comment I got in my mentions.
I don't know.
Okay. I didn't actually research that one myself.
Whatever it is, it's really
It's
good.
a lot.
That's what I mean. Like, I didn't even really need to quantify it with a number. It just feels like they win a hell of a lot more than they lose with Giordano. But just to go back to the forwards for a second, what are you expecting from Bunting tonight? Because we saw how game 1 went.
Yeah.
And he's like, I guess he's fully healthy now, right? He was hesitant there. There was some talk he was going to play in game 1. But do you think he's still going to have that same energy on the top line? Are you expecting him to be himself?
The one great thing about him, and it's not everybody has this ability, but whether you're scoring or not, you get noticed.
Yeah.
And either he's running into somebody, he's knocked on his ass, he's giving an official a hairy eyeball. Notice him.
Let me tell you, that's a skill I wish I had. Being useful without getting points.
You just
wasn't a skill
notice him.
Yeah.
And most importantly, and consistency this year, is you notice him around the net.
Falls per goalie. He led the league, I think, in whoopsies. So
I think I don't think it's one of those things where he can turn on or off either. He's got that makeup.
Well, you know what though? That's a great point, because it is like with guys like Brad Marchand, who's like that, and other guys that you would identify as having careers where they play like that. You can't fake it. You're either like that or you're not. Like, some guys go out there and put a shift together. Maybe what's his name? The Klingberg might go out there and be a tough guy for a shift or a game, but you can't do it every night the way. I mentioned Klingberg because we'll bring this up later. But
do you think Tampa has a sense of not dread, but annoyance that they know he's going into the lineup? Like crap. No, I was going to say a different word. Crap.
I don't think so.
No?
And we are talking about a guy that still I don't think he's got 100 games under his belt. This is his rookie year, albeit he's like
turns 27 soon.
27, 32.
Not a joke.
Right?
Turns 48 next
Even though
week.
he's one of the oldest players on the team.
Right.
It's you just won't give him that type of respect.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I agree. I don't think Tampa looks at Michael Bunting and thinks twice. I do think in the meeting they probably go, hey, this guy,
yes.
if you get the chance to put a lick on him, he's
loves
180.
to draw penalties,
right.
will flop, will draw attention. Just make sure you have a good stick, a good body position on him. And, of course, how the official's going to paint this one tonight.
It's actually, I wonder if Bunting has a harder time knowing, playoffs, the calls. I know they weren't in game 1, but typically are a little harder to get. And I know they go up, but it's because there's way more infractions.
One embellishment fine for him this year?
At least one, yeah.
Just one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on a list.
But I'm wondering if it's harder to draw a penalty in the postseason. I
don't think it is if you're dealing with about I'll give it a 10 to 15% leeway. Whereas if it's 65% legit, then his 10 or 15 on how he falls won't factor in. But if it's a 50-50, and there's somehow, some way that the official gets it rubs the wrong way, he ain't getting the call.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
So I think the officials, you hope, are savvy enough to say, hey, at the end of the day, whether you added a little hot sauce to it, still a penalty.
So do you think, we're talking about Bunting and Tampa looking at him coming in. Do you think that all this noise of being in Toronto matters to them? Like, the media's talking about Keefe and it's Cooper and Bunting's in and, Tampa doesn't have the juice. They can't bring the energy. Do you think they give it? Do you think they care? Do you think they care?
No.
No, you just think they've been through it and they've.
Yeah. I just think if you understand the game, you understand what's important, all of it sometimes is just noise.
Yeah. Well, Cooper talked to his team about it, about trying to keep them away from all of this noise you're talking about. Let's hear Coop on that one.
Well, it's hard to ignore because it's on every TV station. Like, we'll tell our guys, don't watch TV. Like, cell phones, your social media and all that stuff. It's just hard because you want that in a city. You want the city to be buzzing. You want the country. You want everybody to be having fun and pulling for their team. But you don't want, you don't want to hear guys pick players apart. Like, oh, this player's picked apart of this, and it's not fair to them. They're the best players in the world at what they do. And so I'd rather, our focus be on beating the Toronto Maple Leafs as the Tampa Bay Lightning, and not, well, this guy was minus this, or this guy didn't have enough hits, or this guy didn't make this save, or it's a team game. And yes, you love the fact that the city's embracing it because it's good for our sport. But it's, like I tell our guys, you want to get on social media and you want to enjoy all this stuff, do it at the parade.
Oh my
Enough
God.
said.
Oh,
Do it at the parade. Get on, you know what?
Do it on a boat.
Cooch, wear your $92 million salary cap shirt on the boat. Your Bud Light gear.
Okay, and for the record, whether you're a wily veteran like John Cooper or a rookie head coach, they're going to follow, they're going to watch.
They're on Instagram.
They're going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Okay.
Can't avoid it.
I've played with enough teammates where it's like, I don't read the press. I don't read newspapers. And it's like, they're walking into the shitter. Where's the Toronto Sun? Somebody grab me the Toronto Sun. I want to read the Toronto Sun.
I can tell you from experience being in the Leafs coach's office, there is a stack of printed press clippings every day. If the coaches want to grab them, the PR department says, here's the stack.
Do the Leafs have somebody watching all the press?
What about our YouTube stream?
They're listening to everything we're saying
Hi,
right
guys.
now. What's up?
Hey, everybody.
Well, if you're in PR, your
don't forget
job
my
is to
food
take
voucher
the tone,
tonight, boys.
right?
Don't forget my food voucher.
To take the tone, what's being said, and how to fight back against issues for the team. Keep it as simple for the team as possible. What's funny is PR used to mean promote public relations, promoting the team, getting out in the community, getting the word out about your team. Now it's insulating the players.
It's the opposite.
And it's insulating the group so they can be at their best to win. They're almost more of a member of the staff in terms of protecting internally that they don't have to deal with a bunch of garbage. It's a different role now.
Yeah, and it's a different beast here. It's not like we need to promote this game so we can sell more seats.
No, you're right.
Right?
Which I wonder about that, Kyper.
Well,
I think that eventually backfires not doing that.
Yeah, every 75 years maybe.
Yeah, and we're not in one.
But it ain't happening today or tomorrow
Just check
or
your
next
YouTube
year.
numbers. Yeah, not this year.
Like, if you're an owner, which we know the Leafs have media conglomerates owning the team, but if you're one owner and you have a concern about community and season tickets and corporate responsibilities, then you instruct your management team to get your players out there.
Yeah, go be a part of it.
Right? That's not happening here. How many Leaf players have we had on this show? And then when they are, they're available to, the two ownership groups.
Yeah.
But not that they say anything anyways, but it would be nice every once in a while. But
yes.
Where's that on their priority list to have Leaf players out on radio or TV?
If we could talk about something today, I'd like to have Willie on to ask him about his pregame meal.
Oh,
we can save that clip for later.
Just a programming note before we go to break here, that the Leafs game tonight will be on City News 680. So we got the Blue Jays commitments here, which we always do on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, but we're going to have it on City News 680 starting at 7:30. So
thanks, Sam.
There you go. Just want to make sure that's where Ralphie will be calling the game, and that's where I'll be sitting beside Ralphie biting my fingernails.
Love it. Good stuff.
Nice.
Oh, boy,
You'll
nervous.
be fine.
No, I'm nervous, boys.
You're up 1-0.
I know, but it's
got a cushion right now.
The way I see it, you get to enjoy 3 games. No matter what happens tonight, it's fun. Even if you go down 2-1, you're still in the series. So you get to game 4 before you really got to poop your pants.
I'm just very, very lucky to get to go tonight. There's a ton of people that would like to go and do what I'm doing. So I'm blessed, but very nervous.
Gratitude.
Speaking of pooping your pants.
Yes.
We'll get Jim Ralph after the break to talk about Willie Nylander.
All right. Who Jim, you got a story for us?
Could have maybe had a bit of an issue from his pregame meal game 1.
Hey, he was skating like he had a tailwind out there in the first period.
Okay. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you're about to find out after the break. Jimmy Ralph on Real Kyper and Bourne, show number 145.
Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Teeing up game 2, Scotiabank Arena, Tampa Bay Lightning, Toronto Maple Leafs. You think first goal is important tonight?
Nah, it's fine. Give up a few. Be all right.
It's like the Blue Jays. You just never quite out of it, right?
No, it's true.
You're going to watch down 3 or 4. And the Leafs, with that offense, even if Tampa goes up 2-0, you're like, okay, Matthews, Marner, they're not going to get ripped off any of the good looks in a hockey game. All right, let's welcome in Jim Ralph, the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs, color analyst. Now, Ralphie, I know that you're right there with Bonesy, right beside, but I can't think of anything I'd rather not have in my life than Sammy McKee right beside me watching a Leaf game. Is like, are you aware of Sammy McKee, your producer, and what he battles internally every night with the Leafs?
To be honest, Kip, I think I signed a picture for him once, and I don't think we ever really spoke after that. Was my Springfield Indian rookie card, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So, what's the vibe you think going into game 2? Did game 1 do anything to curb the nervousness that fans like Sammy had in game 1?
I think to an extent that, and I think, down the stretch when they beat Florida at home and they beat Tampa, they beat Carolina twice, they won in Boston, that was sort of the lead in that you can beat anybody. That's not a prediction that they will, but I think it gave them that jolt of confidence that they're not going to go into any series, maybe not being a huge favorite, but not being a huge underdog either. So I think the importance was leading up to it, and what you liked about it was, let's face it, that 5-minute major could have gone the other way, and the conversation could be entirely different than it is right now. But it was, you love the energy they played with and the confidence that came out of that.
It went so well, it's halfway tempting to be like, that was a great play by Clifford. It changed things, but no, you're right. Could have looked very differently had it gone differently. One of those things for the Leafs is Jack Campbell and his goaltending. Do you feel better about where he's at right now? Do you feel confident about the goaltender he's looked like the last little bit as they head into what's hopefully a playoff run that's longer than a week?
Yeah, absolutely, Bourne. And then the other side of it as well. Teams, for the most part, automatically lock it down more in the playoffs as well. So you're not, for the most part, the odd man rushes are eliminated and the backdoor plays. So even though the margin of error is so slim for goaltender in the playoffs, I think it's easier in some ways because you're not. It's not like a game in February or even that game in Florida when the Panthers came back from a 5-1 deficit. You don't see those games as often in the postseason. So I think from a goaltender standpoint, if you've got your confidence and you say all I got to do is square up, take the shot, and everybody else will do their jobs. That in some ways it's a bit easier, but when the goaltender's getting beat on those shots. Anybody watch Colorado last night? You can find yourself. Yeah. You can find yourself in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, I think it was important, his stretch as well as the teams going into the playoffs, that he was getting back to there, and now nothing like starting the playoff series off with a shutout.
Does it help now that you've found a way to get not once but twice to Vasilevskiy, say in the last 5 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it does because now we could be talking in 6 hours from now on, how Vasilevskiy's bounce back numbers in the playoffs have been incredible, and which they have. I'm sure you guys have seen it posted. I think in the last 2 years, he's 14-0 with a .966 save percentage after a loss. So you should be even, not confident that you were able to, solve them, but also be very leery that his bounce back could be the difference in game 2.
What did you make of John Cooper's comments? Maybe you didn't hear them, but he basically said that, we gave him a freebie. We weren't good. He made it sound like it wasn't about Toronto showing it all and just that Tampa wasn't Tampa. What'd you make of that?
I think, well, the response from Sheldon Keefe, I think, was the same thing. He said, look, he's going to talk. He said, when we got in and got beat 8-1 in Tampa, he said, they're talking about how well they played, and I'm saying that we gave them a freebie. And then, didn't compete that night. So I think it was understandable. And I think, as much as you're going to look at matchups and you're going to watch film about the other guys' tendencies, the bottom line is if you're a confident group, you're more worried about yourself than the other team. So, and let's face it, I think there's a certain amount of truth to it, especially, considering the opportunities they had in the power play in the first period.
Ralphie, we know Tampa Bay's got offensive weapons that can match Toronto's. We're talking about guys historically that'll be Hall of Famers, man. And I'm just wondering, how important was it that Matthews and Marner got off the schneid early here and ahead of the points and the Stamkoses and the Kucherovs?
Well, I mean, everybody can downplay it, but I think it was huge. Even for Marner. And even when you look at Matthews, he played less than 17 minutes. Pierre Engvall and David Kampf had more minutes than Austin Matthews in the opener. So I think, from a Leaf standpoint, I don't think you could have drawn up a game one result any better. With Marner and Matthews scoring, Campbell gets the shutout. The penalty kill was great. You score shorthanded, you score in the power play, and you're thrilled with it. But I think it was important because as much as, Mitch Marner can say that he doesn't think about it and it's a new series and it's a new game, you don't want it hanging over your head into game 3 or game 4 when all of a sudden the series is tied at 2 and you're still looking to do something offensively. So I think it's probably a lot more important than a lot of people will give it credit for.
So, Ralphie, in game 1, Spezza can't get in the lineup in favor of Kyle Clifford. Cliffy gets suspended. He's not available game 2, and Spezza's still in the press box. Obviously been a big part of this team the past couple of years in regular seasons. How do you feel about the decision to keep him out games 1 and 2?
Yeah, I still think Bourne, you're going to see him in. And, probably for Blackwell at some point. Because without Spezza, even if you want to look at it in the second power play unit, without him, there's a huge drop off, from the first to the second, at least, throughout the season. And even, he had a couple of times in Washington and Columbus when he was on the ice with the goalie pulled and scores the game tying goal. He's still somebody that can contribute that way. But I understood, especially the way that 8-1 loss in Tampa ended with all the brawls and scraps and everything. You had to go into game 1, I think, with Simmons and Clifford. Absolutely. And you wonder if the series goes on. I mean, and Kyper, I'd like your take on this. When you see Patrick Maroon grab Morgan Riley, you say, okay, what's the equivalent of that the other way? And I'm not saying it'll happen, but I'm sure it's in the back of guys' minds that you get another instance like this where there's a scrum and say Simmons and Kucherov or Braden Point are on the ice. You might wonder if that goes a little differently. Yeah,
absolutely. I don't know what's going on with Braden Point, but there has been a shoulder issue there down the regular season, the end towards the regular season. I don't know how healthy he is, but go grab a guy like that. I mean, your timing has to be good where it's not going to cost you. Let's make no mistake about that. But that to me is the equivalent of something like that. Like I don't grab Maroon or Perry. Go get in the face of one of their better players.
Yeah, and I mean, and for all the kids listening, we're not condoning violence. We're just saying
borderline violent, right? Just borderline.
We're just saying sometimes you just got to protect your own, right?
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is the first rock was thrown, and now you can pick it up and throw it back if you get a chance. But I just found that that interesting, and then of course Morgan Riley takes a little more frustration on Ruutu before it was over, but it was I just thought that was very interesting. To see Patrick Maroon go from Wayne Simmons to Morgan Riley in the first round of a playoff game.
So does your producer tonight, Sammy McKee, suggest to you and Bonesy that you should stay off social media like John Cooper's suggesting that to his players?
Oh, the cesspool known as social media. Yeah, I don't think. Well, Joe's a little different than me. I think Joe is a little more social than I am. Can we put it that way, Kip?
For sure, no question about that. But all kidding aside, Ralphie, do you like that? Is it just part of the Stanley Cup playoffs that the coaches may look for things that they say and do to deflect or challenge other coaches? Because it's real early in this series, and we've seen a little bit of that back and forth between Keefe and Cooper already, haven't we?
Well, and what was funny was, Keefe said that he thought it could be a violent series, or I think violent was the word that he used.
Borderline violent.
Borderline violent. And John Cooper kind of said, oh, come on, like, that was one game, it was nothing. And then what happens when it's 5-0? John Cooper's team decides they've got to make a statement the way the Leafs did when they were down 8-1 in Tampa. So I would say on that one, Keefe was right. And even though Cooper was trying to downplay it going into game one, he certainly seemed to agree with it by the end of game one. So, no, there'll be some verbal jousting, but I think at the same time, they're both smart enough to realize that the other guy's got a pretty good team. And you're not going to do anything that's, going to be, chalkboard worthy, where you're going to put up an article or a quote or something on the board to get guys extra motivated. I think there's still that line that's, you got to be careful with not to cross it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt that is a battle that these two sides are fighting. So, heading into game 2 tonight, what do you expect to see then? Given that John Cooper's saying they didn't play well, the Leafs are making a case that, they seem to think that they were at their very best. I guess my concern is just that the Leafs in the past, Ralphie, when they've gone up against Buffalo, they don't show up. When they get feeling good and they win a few in a row, they don't show up as much. Are they going to be able to elevate it like they did in game 1 in back-to-back games?
Well, I think, and again, when you start talking about the conversations around the team, what's going to happen if they get up 3-1 in a series? They're going to say, well, what about last year? And here we go again. And what if you lose and now it's 3-2 and you're going to Tampa for game 6? So I think they've. I was watching one of the games last night where one coach, his quote was, the best teaching tool is experience. And you hope they've got that now. And one thing that the Leafs have really had a tough time doing over the last 6 years in the postseason is really putting the foot down in the throat of the opponent a little tighter when you've got them in a position where you can take control of a series. So I would expect them to come out with the same injury. I still don't think it got enough attention was the fact that Tampa played, 3 games in 5 nights, including game 1, where the Leafs rested guys on Friday, and basically a lot of those guys didn't play for 5 days. And, Tampa had all the travel and everything else. And to me, Tampa almost looked tired for game 1. And I don't think you're going to see that for game 2. I think it might be one of those that, a 3-2 overtime game for somebody.
So even if the Leafs go up 2-0, that wouldn't give you a sense of security if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf for you? No,
because I think Tampa's just got the ability that lob averages are going to eventually click in. I remember when the Leafs swept Ottawa, I think it was in 2000 or 2001. The Leafs shut about the first 2 games in Ottawa, came back, and in game 3 they were up 2-0 with about 3 minutes left. And you're thinking, wow, they've just shut down the Senators. And then Ottawa comes back and scores 2 in the last 2 minutes, and you're going, okay, there it is. That's the ability before that high-scoring Corey Cross won it in overtime for Toronto. But I remember having that feeling that eventually they're going to break through. And I think you've got that feeling with Tampa. Whether it's tonight or whether it's in game 3, there's going to be that night where you're going to see the Stamkos, Kucherov, and the Tampa power play that we saw in the last 10 games of the regular season.
Jim, one of my favorite, the most accurate pieces of analysis, I think, early in the season when the Leafs were struggling is you came on our show and you said that the Leafs have so many fast players, but they weren't playing fast. They just looked like a slower team for a team that had so many guys that can skate. Here we are all this time later, game one, and they just looked like a fast team. What has changed for this team from the beginning of the year to now that allows them to look like a different team with the same group?
I think a lot of it is if you're in sync, Bourne, and that first 10-foot pass is to somebody that has their feet moving, as opposed to somebody standing still or somebody flies the zone early and he's waiting for it with his backside pressed up against the boards at the opposing team's blue line, waiting for the puck. Then you're not very fast. But it usually starts with being good in your own end, and your breakouts are good, and you've got everybody coming out at the same time, rather than having one guy 40 feet up, one guy standing still at center, and you're just more in sync. And that's always been my philosophy anyway, that teams are going to play faster if the guy getting the puck is already moving. And I think that's what they've been able to do with their breakouts and their entries.
One more for me, Ralphie, and you're great to ask this because you've been around a long time and you're old like me. Cooper kind of poo-pooed that whole crowd thing and made it abundantly clear to everybody that this is still the same crowd that needs 15 minutes to get in their platinum seats in the lower bowl. How different did game one feel for you over the years, including, the success runs, maybe even going back to Gilmore's and Maple Leaf Gardens or the early 2000s?
Well, it's funny because I said to Joe, I said it must be a playoff game because they had, the teams hadn't even come out for the anthem yet, and the seats were full. And then I made the comment, and it wasn't smart ass, it wasn't condescending or making fun of anybody, but it showed that the 20 guys in the lineup better be ready because 18,500 are here early to watch. So it's it's going back to that atmosphere. It's I think in some years the crowd in the playoffs reacts nervously. And they were proactive, and I think that was what was impressive about it, and that was probably closer to the Gilmore Clark era, your era, Kyper in the early '90s, and maybe a little bit with the Sonny Dean era in the early 2000s, where there was a belief they could win, as opposed to, gee, I hope nothing bad happens. And sometimes, especially get into overtime, and crowds can get really nervous and quiet, and they just.
Willie Nylander, who we found out wasn't feeling that well during game one.
I'll launch right into that. Play the clip.
Let's play the clip. Willie Nylander.
Strikes to me is just sushi for pregame meal. Game one of playoffs. Like, it's not like it's terrible, but like.
Not the best.
I don't know anyone who has ever had that as a pregame meal. Like, and I'm sure Willie does all the time. And there's, again, nothing wrong with it. It's just very surprising.
We are talking about one of the richest organizations in the world that now have the players covered every which way. Your sleep doctor, your nutrition. Like, can you imagine now being the team nutrition and hearing this?
I can't imagine if super lean protein and white rice is like the best.
Not that you
fuel.
have to. Not that you have to tell these guys everything that they need to eat.
No, and again, there's nothing wrong with what he ate.
Can you imagine now if it was so bad that he missed game one, or he's out a week or something?
I'd dying to know what he gets. Like, is he getting sashimi? Is he burping tuna, raw tuna during the game?
So
I think he's going eel.
Barbecued eel out there.
Barbecue eel. That'll get you every time.
So that's some bad pregame eel. Like, what are we doing here? Get a bowl of pasta.
I gotta ask you.
Chicken parm.
I don't necessarily call bull on this, but I know you guys have both had food poisoning in your lives, right?
Yeah.
I've never been sicker in my life than when I had food poisoning.
And like,
How do you? There's no way he had full-on food poisoning and played
if
in a
you
hockey game.
are,
There
it's sushi. It's just one hairball, and that's it. It's over. That's it. It's like, and that's it. It spits out, and you're good to go. Where do you get puking all day off of sushi?
Oh, come on. That sounds pretty pukable all day to me. Sushi. I can't. It's just a really strange thing to me for a pregame meal choice for playoffs. But maybe he does this. I know you mostly play on what you eat the night before, the day before, so it's not a huge thing.
Did he go to Raba and get it? Like, where did he get the sushi from? Grocery store?
I don't know. Is there a guy on the corner? Is it the same guy that I used to go get a cotton candy from on his bike outside Maple Leaf Garden?
Maybe I got food
hot
poisoning
cashews
from UFO in the corner of Niagara and by King Street there. It's a dicey spot. Where's he going?
A candy apple, cotton cane, popcorn, and sushi.
Maybe he got at the same spot Phil got his hot dogs.
Got a green dragon roll for me.
Oh, my God.
So, Sammy, what's your pregame meal tonight? Like puck drop 7:30 tonight.
Well, one of the great developments this year,
water dog.
they've been giving us the media voucher, so you get a $25 voucher,
which is a hot dog.
But you get. I mean, there's some nice little choices.
Oh, that's the media room.
Yeah. So
$25.
No, it's not the room. They just
they don't have the room anymore.
What, not
They don't have
concourse.
the media room anymore.
They say here's 25 at the concession.
COVID stuff. So they've got a whole different entrance and this is nuts and bolts no one cares about, but there's a whole different entrance now. And you walk in, they give you $25 to the concession, which is like.
I usually get you what a Haagen-Dazs.
It's not usually like the healthiest. You know, I'm looking at tonight. I'm probably looking at like a buffalo chicken wrap. maybe some nacho fries. Maybe a little something greasy. Get me fired up for the game.
$21. They don't give you four back, do they?
But then in the press box, they'll bring in slices of pot, like pizza.
Food and beverage managers lilistening right now.
Oh, it's great.
Everything's healthy.
Oh, it's all healthy, very healthy. But you can get freshy,
plant-based.
You can get whatever you want.
Hot dogs.
You just got $25 to spend, and it doesn't go
to you.
It just doesn't necessarily go that far.
And also, it does. Do you get the sushi in the Platinum Lounge for the $25?
I will be avoiding sushi entirely. Not the biggest sushi guy.
Sammy's the type of guy that'll take that voucher and go, "Can I trade it in at Leaf Sport and get a hat and a scarf?"
Try and redeem it for cash.
Oh my God!
All right. On that note, let's take a break.
Let's do it.
Catch our breath.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got a few laughs ahead of us with Colby Armstrong, who my guess is probably went to bed after double overtime. You think he hung in there?
Not a chance. He got kids.
He did.
I
texted him
young
after.
kids.
Yes, he was there.
He's got 4 young kids. He's exhausted by 10:30.
That was my issue.
All right. We'll ask Colby Armstrong after the break. We'll also get into Calgary and Dallas. 1-0. Where are all the goals?
Don't need them. You just need one.
Just need one. That was enough for Calgary. Okay. More after the break. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. Real Kyper and Bourne.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
One good thing about the Stanley Cup playoffs now when you're watching at home is you get a lot of the commercials, right? The same commercials over and over again. I don't know what that one commercial is. It's a delivery commercial, maybe even Skip the Dishes, where the guy's like on the couch and he's got
the playoff pants.
Barbecue sauce is on the couch. It's on the curtains.
It's on the cat.
It's disgusting. The guy is just absolutely hoarding everything. And I'm like, that guy reminds me of Colby Armstrong.
That's just a terrible lead-in for poor Colby.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Am I on? With
You're
you guys?
on. You're on.
That is ruthless.
No.
Absolutely ruthless. I'm a cleanliness.
Are you?
The dishes
I
guy.
envision barbecue sauce all over the place at your house and your 4 kids running around. Is it 4? Is it 6?
Buddy.
How many you got now?
I got 4, but trust me, buddy, at my house, I don't miss a drop. Hey, I'll tell you this, boys. Little update. Boys, down 12 pounds.
Whoa. No.
12 pounds. Oh, I'm on fire in 3.5 weeks, down 12 pounds. I'm coming back, boys.
Got that
You are
isogenics
back.
going or what? What are you on?
I'm on intermittent fasting, which is pretty much starve yourself.
The old don't eat food diet.
Why now?
Amazing. Who would have thought?
Why would do this in the summer where it's like, you're not having to watch 5 hours a night. This is the worst time to try to do this.
I know. I don't know why. Yeah. It's game time. I don't know why. A buddy put me onto it. He says, dude, you got to try this. So I'm like, okay, I can't imagine. I'll probably have headaches. It'll probably be hard. You know, when you're starving. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And I found it to be actually quite easy. And I have a little app and I just get her going. And it tells me when I'm kicked off the fast and I can just have a little bit to eat and then I'm full right away because I don't know. I feel like I have tons of energy.
Love it.
So
Are you a snacker during the games?
Disgusting.
No,
just gross. I eat all my calories post game.
Yeah, I'm not a huge snacker. I'm a meal guy. So like if I want a snack, I'll eat a meal. You know what I mean? Which sucks.
So a quick roast chicken in the afternoon?
Yeah, I'm a full plate hot food guy. Yeah, I'm not just going for a bag of chips. I'm like, I'll get the number 1 at McDonald's. You know what I mean?
So do the Leafs snack tonight on Tampa Bay? Is it a full meal deal?
Oh, boy. What do you guys – I don't know. I don't know what to think. I as well as the Leafs played, at the same time, in the same breath, I go, Tampa was brutal. They were brutal. So I'm kind of like – did Kucherov sweat during the game? I don't know if he took 3 hard strides. And I'm watching, and the Leafs are buzzing, completely buzzing. I think the atmosphere helps for sure. The Leafs are ready to go, but I have a feeling we could see a different Tampa team.
What do you make of that? They come off a week road trip, 8-day road trip. They don't know whether it's still Toronto or maybe even Carolina. Just strictly an energy thing or not focused or not taking it seriously? What?
I think, all the talk, this is going to be a violent series and all this stuff. And, maybe even I did at the time. I'm like, yeah, okay. We've seen the Leafs play all year. What are you talking about, Mm-hmm. And I think Tampa Bay probably had the same kind of thought going into it. That's the way it looked to me anyway. They were just oh, this is going to be a skill game, and we're just going to come out here and skill these guys. They're not going to hit us. We won't hit them. We'll just play hockey. This is and it was, they were drinking through a fire hose where the Tampa Bay Lightning all night with the, the pressure, the physicality, the in-your-face play, whether it was on the kill or even 5-on-5. I mean, it was the foot was heavily on the gas. So I think a little bit of a mindset of honestly of not being prepared a little bit on Tampa's part for the type of game that they were going to see from the Leafs. Credit to the Leafs. I mean, unbelievable.
No, it was great. It was great. And so they got him down 1-0. They got another crack at home tonight. They have a fully healthy lineup, and I'm thinking about this Toronto Maple Leafs team and their history. 2019, I got a quote from Patrick Marleau saying the team lacked killer instinct. In 2020, there's a quote from Austin Matthews saying the team lacked killer instinct. Last year, Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas both mentioned killer instinct. Is that something you can learn, that these guys can just have figured out how to keep the pedal down when things are going well, or if it's not in you, it's just not in you?
Yeah, like guts, right? Do you have any guts? Like, we'll probably get to the Pens game later, but I thought that was like, I thought the Pens were done. They were like tapped out in the first period. I was going, oh my God, throw the towel, and these guys aren't done. I don't know if they have enough guts to come back and play this style of game. And I think that's what it comes down to in the playoffs, right? Like, I think it's like, can you push through and have enough guts to play in uncomfortable spots well?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, looking at this Leafs team, the drive they had, I think that, obviously I have a hard time thinking going into tonight that if the Leafs are in the penalty box as much as they were early, that's not going to be a different story with this team. Like, they're going to be facing and looking down at a hungry beast that got embarrassed and got lit up and, had to face the music for it. So we're going to see. We're going to see what kind of guts they have when Tampa decides to turn it up a little bit with their game and put the heat on them a little bit. And if they can keep, the pedal down like we saw in game one, because the pedal was fully to the floor. Can they keep that up? Can they have it? I think, I don't know, I got a different vibe, man. I got a different vibe about this Leafs team this year. Like, they've got that little bit of extra jam, a little bit of extra playoff jam, which I think, obviously is something that they've missed for several years. I can't even count that high, but especially this group, right? Especially this group. I think this group, killer instinct and that jam and the guts you have to have when you get into a 7-game series. Do you think this is going to be an easy series? Like after game one, I'm sure people feel pretty good. Well, if you're a Leaf fan, I think it's going to be a hard series. I still think like Tampa's not going to roll over.
Well, why would anybody think that they're going to roll over? Like, it's disrespectful right now to say back-to-back champions now are ready to just roll over and die. And that may be the case, but you don't say it because there's no reason to say it other than you guess it or you hope for it. So they've earned the respect to say that they're not going to go away.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I watched the Penguins all year. I cover the Penguins here in Pittsburgh, and going in the playoffs as they limped in and like it looked not good, like no chemistry. I didn't know what to think. I'm like, what is going on with this team? Like, we're having this team that was, tough to play against and had all this jam, and like, can they flip the switch? And I mean, in the second period, they flipped the switch, and for whatever they weathered the storm and took the game complete. I feel completely. I think after the first, I think they deserved to win the game. I mean, they got a lucky break with a non-goal call, but I questioned their guts. I questioned if they have that. I did. I was like, I don't think they're like the same, team.
But they're not. Colby,
they're not. Yeah,
they're not the same team that they were even in November or December.
No.
And you know who's leading that charge for me is Mikheyev. Here's a guy that has had blessed World Cup speed probably his whole life. Mm-hmm. He could outskate anybody probably since he was like 9. I don't know. But
guy's a robot.
Now he's just figured it out that he is big, he's strong, he can lean on people. Yeah. We saw him get into a fight at the end, and he's leading that charge right now as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's a horse, right? Like, he plays with that, and now you've kind of seen, down the stretch, at least into the playoffs too, like the confidence, everything start to click, like you said, and he's like impacting the game in so many different ways and so many different styles, like, whether it's on the forecheck, whether it's on the kill, whether it's, off the rush, whether he's pounding it off the cycle. I mean, this guy's, been a presence and a force. So, it's so funny. Like, you look at these teams and, we talk, go around the league, like Tom Wilson, what TJ Oshie kind of means to the Caps, players that are kind of that same kind of feel, right? And I think Mikheyev also has that same kind of like almost unicorn power forward flavor to his game that just impacts this lineup so huge. I think he could play with anyone, I think he will play an unbelievable game, and I think he impacts with his body, his presence, his speed, and everything else that he brings. So, yeah, you're right. It's super noticeable difference maker for the Leafs with his style of play and his game.
So we will get to this Pittsburgh series here. Pittsburgh Rangers last night, unbelievable hockey game. I mean, just tell us about your takeaways from the first night, because man, triple overtime, Sid dishing on the backhand, Gino making plays. What'd you think?
I mean, I think we saw everything in one game. I could Raquel knocked out. See you later. Lindgren, huge hit. We had. I think the biggest thing ever, Casey DeSmith, how's he going to be? The backup goalie against probably the guy that's, going to win the Vezina. And he was unbelievable. We saw that too. And second best goalie performance ever in the playoffs for shots. I mean, he was a beast. And, DeSmith getting hurt and the down 2-0 and battling back and 3 over. It was crazy with DeSmith left the game in overtime, and I'm going, oh my, what is going on here? I'm sure everyone's really what's happening here? DeSmith's leaving the game. Here comes Louie Domingue. Okay, Jari was out. That was enough, and now Domingue's coming in, and I mean Domingue played awesome. So I thought that was electric. To get the full buffet of playoff hockey that way with physicality. And then triple overtime and some craziness, a controversial goalie interference call, the whole thing. We had it all.
What is the latest with Casey DeSmith here? You're not buying the cramping, are you?
No.
Nobody cramps after 48 shots in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Where does cramping come from?
The first thing I thought of was cramping, and then I'm like, okay, hold on, what's going on here? And I the more I think, and now I think he's day to day with cramping. I don't think so. I think he's day to day with something. So
he's hurt.
Whatever it is, you saw him laboring off the ice as he's going down the runway there in MSG out in the corner. Domingue had to get called in. Wasn't Domingue hilarious after the game too?
Yeah, are you talking about the pork line?
They did him a huge favor, Bourne. I think they did him a huge. He gets in the game. He gets a little groin stretch in. I'm going, this guy hasn't been in. It was 11 o'clock at night. He hasn't been in, taking a shot since 6:30 warm-ups. And Adam Fox, as smart as he is, which I don't know if it's a bad thing, you say pucks on net, whatever, but he comes in with 2 little wristers into his
just warm-up shots?
Yeah, and I was like, is that the ideal situation for a new guy coming in the playoffs in overtime and you're just throwing him some lobs? I don't know. I think it he got a little touch. The boys gave him some pad taps and kind of maybe possibly settled him in a little bit.
Do we want to play Louie now? Is it a good time with Colby? Is that okay?
Yeah, Derek, let it rip.
Here's Louie Domingue.
Louie.
About his in-game meal that he had, talking about all the skip the dishes. No, it wasn't intermittent fasting.
I actually had quite the meal in between the first and the second overtime. I didn't expect going in, but maybe it sustained my energy, so it was cool though. It was cool to be part of that.
You say quite the meal. What was it?
Some spicy pork and broccoli. Not the best.
Not the best. He gives her a head nod and goes, not the best.
Spicy pork is on the trainer's table. It's on the cat. It's on the couch.
Some spicy pork and broccoli. Not the best.
Okay.
My God.
If they got to go to Domingue, are they in the trouble?
That's good. I don't think so. I think Louie is got the attitude and the mindset of understanding and being around that he can come in and have a run. He's gone on runs before, right? 10-game win streak, I believe, in Tampa. I mind this years, he's battled in the minors. He wants to get back to the NHL. He's got fight him. I think he believes that he's, he can be that guy. I think he's big. He's got the ability. He's an NHL backup goaltender, but I think he's got an ability to feel good and possibly take the reins and go on a run. Plus, I hate that he catches the other way, and I don't know. You guys tell me the same thing. I think it's such a mind bomb looking up at a guy that has a glove on the other side when you're. I don't know why that just messes with my head initially. We take a pass, take a quick look, and you got this guy. What the heck? What is that? So it's kind of plays with your mind a little bit, but I do think that Louie has a real belief and confidence and swagger in himself and his ability, to win games and to play well. So if you're a guy in his situation, and he had the best line, he's like, that's the life of the backup goalie, and that's the life in hockey. And I was like, man, this guy, like, he said it without a blinking, like he just gets it. He just gets like what he's supposed to do, And I think you got a guy with like a little bit of veteran feel, and like he's got this idea of like, the task at hand, and it's not overwhelming him or anything. He's just like going to grab it. I think if it's going to happen to one guy, I think, to have the Pens, at least they have this situation now where they have, because last year DeSmith was hurt, Jari playing brutal. They had no one else to go to. They had Legacy, and they're like, we're going to stick with Jari, as bad as he's playing. We're going to stick with him. Now they're calling up Dorio, and they've got their third and fourth string goalies ready to go, but they have an option with Domingue, and that's why they went and got him. I'm
with you in terms of the Rangers looking like they were going to crush them early. And then Sid and
God.
Gensel. And watching Sid yet again go in the Rangers zone, he's got the wide stance, he's got the edge work, he's got one hand on the backhand, and you can't touch him.
No. He's the best player in the league, maybe Draisaitl right there with a guy on his hip. Like Draisaitl turns his back and he just controls the game, When Sid's got a guy on his hip, like with his edge work and skating and his ability with a guy on his hip, it's just like, see you later, buddy, you're done. That's where he wants you, Mm-hmm. But that play, like Gensel and Sid down the stretch here, the last handful of games before playoffs were kind of a little bit, they quieted down once Jake touched 40 goals and Rust was up and down. They put him back up with Sid, and he'd been really quiet for, like 7 games, I think, no points or anything going really. And, the line didn't look like what it did before they tried to put Rust with Malkin to get him going a little bit more. But I'll tell you what, when they decided to turn it on last night, like they really got it going. Brian Rust actually looked like Brian Rust. Like he'd been really quiet, and he sprung to life, jumping on pucks and using his speed and being available, being options, and just what he does on that line. But that 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 play, like that, the hockey IQ and like connection between those two on that play, guys, is just awesome. Like for him to cut across on Fox over to the other D-man, I forget who it was probably Lindgren, his partner, and once they targeted that guy, it was so funny to watch. Gensel like gave a little juke, like he was going to cross him behind him, which you would probably normally do, and then cut back outside, and then they had that defenseman. Once Sid, cues up a guy to draw his attention, it's so different than anyone else too, because obviously he's going to gain way more attention. He had that defenseman right where he wanted him, and he was done with Gensel's speed at just like a perfect little flop pass in behind. And Gensel's so crafty too. Like he played so good. They were smashing him. Like I thought he got hurt at the end of the first period too, when all that craziness was happening. And this little guy, he just continues to battle and score goals and be a monster for this team. He's just so smart, so good, so underrated. Backhand, forehand, gone. He doesn't do toe drag. He's not doing Michigans. He's just a good hockey player. Jake Gensel's a heck of a player.
We're against Michigans? Is that no? Let's not go down there.
He doesn't do any more than he has to, is what I'm trying to say. Like he just backhand, forehand, gone. He gets it on the wall, shakes a guy off, spins, pulls it to his forehand, pass.
Is there a more unheralded two-time 40-goal guy in the NHL right now than Jake Gensel?
I know. I think they showed like the most goals in Stanley Cup playoffs since 2017, and it's like, usual top 3 customers and Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he just kind of like, I think he looks like he's like 11 years old too, which is kind of crazy, but not a big guy, not a heavy guy, just a good hockey player.
The other guy that I thought shined, who didn't see 1 second of ice, is Sullivan, the head coach.
Yeah.
And like to watch the way that the game kind of swung the pendulum, that to me has everything to do with Sullivan in between periods. He is he's right up there with obviously Cooper, Quenneville before he left. That reputation as now one of the better coaches, maybe even in history. Sullivan, he's at the top of my list too.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how he continues to find a way to, grab this team, right? Like he can and injuries through the years, like crazy injuries and, man games lost and finding ways to win games and using different guys and, the versatility in the lineup that he has too. So he can kind of mold the guys around. But the command, like you talk about a guy on a ship, like Sullivan, his voice, the way he talks, he can be tough. I think, but he gets his message across and he has all these guys going, and man, he's the guy with his hands firmly on that, steering wheel on that ship, and they know it.
You good?
I'm good.
We opened up your segment with food.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that this year you've been our food guru, but I'm going with Louie Domingue. I am.
He's the man.
Butter buns, apple pie, tres leche cake balls, chocolate chip cookies, cinnamon rolls, banana bread, peanut butter and chocolate energy balls. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy.
What is this?
That's Louie Domingue.
From
Yeah,
what?
doesn't he have,
He's a foodie.
Is he?
McKenna told us he's a baker.
Yeah, he's a baker. I think he has a book out. It's called Baking Goals or something goals. Yeah, so
you can't compete with that.
Him and I need to hook up and get together and
not on this diet,
going, right?
Not on your
spicy
diet.
Pork and broccoli. Not the best.
Great. That's a great soundbite, isn't it? Game 1 of the playoffs, triple OT. That's what you get.
Your segments left me hungry.
Go get some, Kyper. Come on, buddy.
Colby, enjoy game 2 tonight, watching the Leafs in Tampa Bay.
All right, yeah, I'm loving playoffs early so far, so thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Colby. Appreciate
Colby
it.
Armstrong, former NHLer and Sportsnet hockey analyst.
What a guy. You're just killing him for that commercial, eh? The guy does one commercial. We're just burying him.
Buddy, good thing he's a beauty. Because it's just every time he comes on, like,
buddy, don't try
I would
this.
hammer food.
Don't try this at home, anyone.
No.
I'm a professional with Colby. Okay? Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, McKenna told us that he was a big baker. Remember last time we had him on? When we were talking about the record with the 4 straight starts with 4 different teams.
So we were talking about this before the show, like how this likely happens with Domingue. So like before the game for Pittsburgh, they're the road team. Each player would likely put in an individual food order to have something ready immediately post game, right? That's when your body is absorbing stuff. If you're a player, it's best to have a 4-to-1 carb to protein ratio. So you eat some sort of chicken parm or pasta or whatever. If you're Louie Domingue and you're not playing, a little protein and veg, keep it a little leaner.
Yeah.
Spicy pork and
No,
broccoli.
this is the way it works. You go to a trainer and say, I'm hungry. Go get me something.
Think that's what happened, Louie?
100%.
Oh, I disagree. I bet you that's his post-game order, and it was sitting in the
No.
lobby
They
waiting
don't have
for him.
post-game orders.
I'm sure they do.
No.
On the road, do you think those guys are waiting and going out 30 minutes after the game?
They would have a meal waiting for them.
At the hotel, they would have something.
Yeah, they want to leave the rink. They don't want to hang around there. So they'll go to the hotel But like
I'm dying to know then how he came up with spicy
pork. You're now
pork.
in double overtime and you're hungry and you're going to the trainer. No different than Gretzky did 40 years ago when they're bringing him hot dogs.
But usually it's like you eat a banana or you eat I'm just this real food episode today.
It's Louie Domingue.
So the baker is like a banana.
There's no way he's coming.
Spicy
Did
pork.
you hear him rattling off everything in his book?
Butter buns, apple pie,
Butter buns,
pork, cake balls,
broccoli,
and you're in
spicy
downtown Manhattan. Like I'm sure he was like, oh, I don't know. There's a Michelin restaurant down the street.
No, they're going to the first suite available and saying, hey, can I steal a plate, please?
Mark Sanchez stuffing a dog in at the end of the bench.
Don't be giving these guys way more credit than they deserve.
Colby said that he was good, Domingue, and I guess he made all the saves, but he did not look good at all.
Go back to his stats. Didn't he have an amazing run with Tampa?
Yeah, I think that's what Colby alluded to.
Yeah.
I'll look it up here.
It was something pretty impressive, though. It's not like you're pulling off a Zamboni driver.
No. He's an NHL goalie. He's been playing a long time. I'm just looking it up right now.
Highly coveted third guy. Tough to get a guy like that as your third guy. So we got to get through around the league here.
Just one comment, too. Like we got to give we got to have a Shesterkin conversation here because he
83 saves.
Oh, is that all?
No, was it?
Yeah, it was.
No,
83.
it's 83 shots or 83 saves?
Saves.
No, I think it was. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was.
No, I think it was 79 shots. I don't know. 79, whatever it was a lot.
Shesterkin saves.
So this is the guy the Rangers have to worry.
79.
79 saves, 83 shots. This is, to me, the big concern for the Rangers is that this guy is your MVP. He played 2 games last night.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he's not Vasilevskiy. He's not a horse. This guy...
He played 53 times this year.
Played 53 times, but he's a skinny guy. He's not a heavy guy like Vasilevskiy. Could tread water in a test tube, this guy. He's about 75. So you just wonder how he rebounds off of something like this.
Crazy stat from game 1, Toronto-Tampa Bay versus New York-Pittsburgh. There was 99 minutes of 5-on-5 hockey in Pittsburgh, New York last night. 33 in Toronto-Tampa Bay. Literally, they played 1/3 of the 5-on-5 time as that team. So, significant wear after game 1 for these teams, and not going to be a whole lot of breaks for whoever wins. Wild.
All right, where do you want to go? Calgary and Dallas?
Good game there. Yeah, let's do that. We got a couple clubs too.
Who saw 1-0?
After the first 10 minutes of that game, I would have thought it was going to be 8-0. The way that Calgary came flying out of the gate. That barn looks so good. The red, their jerseys are so nice. Those home reds are just spectacular jerseys. I love the way that building looked. I thought it was going to be a blowout.
Yeah, good fans in Calgary.
Pretty impressive road game for Dallas, I got to say.
Yeah, I agree. If you want to hold the Flames to 1 goal, you like your odds.
I just don't know who's gonna help Robertson create offense.
Yeah.
What did they finish with? 16 shots on goal?
I mean, that's unbelievable.
It's
like
not
Daryl Sutter's dream.
It's not enough, right? It's not enough. And I'm watching it too, and like that Blake Coleman took a hit, eh? Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Hakanpää
who hit him, and then he took another shot later.
He was on the bench, helmet off, head on the dasher. He was feeling it.
This is where, like, I'm torn here because I get the narrative of you want a warrior, you want a guy that can take a hit, make a play. These are guys that you win with, and then the guy's got some scrambled eggs during the game.
Yeah, you don't need him out there.
It's just that's where it's like, what's right and what's wrong. Right?
So he came out and then went back in.
He got rattled so hard off that initial hit, and he's hunched over. He's hunched over on the bench. Yeah. He's not right. But
it's tough because, like, these concussion tests you do, like, it's not like...
He did leave, I think,
he did,
and then he came back, and then I think he got hit later on in the game, and I think he left for a split second, came back. It's just, like I said, it's conflicting for me because I get both sides of it.
For sure. So you found an awesome quote from that game, which really was delightful.
Well, what was interesting here is loving the playoffs because it brings sometimes the best or the worst out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you do things that sometimes isn't in your comfort zone. And I think that was the case when we saw Klingberg and Anderson fight. And what was great about it was the passion that we heard out of Klingberg after the game. Listen to his comments describing the fight and the situation with Anderson.
I'm not saying I'm a tough guy, but he's acting tougher than he is. I feel like he's the one guy there in the scrum. He doesn't have a guy. I'm standing there with Coleman, and he's standing and shaking his gloves to me like he want to go against me. Probably the least fighter on our team on the ice there. And then I'm skating over to him. I'm dropping my gloves, and I want to go, but he's like just standing there. 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden he drops the gloves. I mean, he's acting a little tougher than he is. We're going to go after him.
I love that. Absolutely love that out of Klingberg. Good for him.
Brass is a big, thick man.
Yes, he is.
Brian Burke used to say that he was not always in the best shape. Like, he's just a lot of dude to be saying.
That's the guy I would least expect.
But that's if you're
to talk like that.
You love when your teammate talks like that. When he's not that guy. You're like, yeah, let him know, John. You get after it. That's great.
There's a guy that unfortunately didn't know the rules.
rules.
Yeah, the rules are you can't start a second fight off of the same whistle. It's a game misconduct. And
they're apparently not calling that in playoffs.
even to go back to, Morgan Riley.
Right.
Those officials gave Morgan a gift. No fighting majors.
This one just grab Morgan. He might be doing something.
Like Leaf fans, maybe. I don't know. But regardless, it was a bit of a favor.
We also have I didn't tell you about this one. We also have Daryl Sutter talking about the conflict from last night. If you, I know you love Sut, so
let's do it. Do some Sutter.
Love Daryl Sutter.
With Matthew Tkachuk getting involved with Raffle, is that something you'd rather not see?
No, I'd rather would see it.
You like it?
Yeah, it's playoffs, Eric. I mean, got a little confrontation.
How about Rasmus?
Pardon?
How about Rasmus?
I didn't like the calls on that. Right? Usually there's an instigator and then so, I mean, that's separate. That's second altercation. So that is what it is. You know the rule.
Is that our friend Eric Francis asking?
Sure.
Does Eric not know it's the playoffs?
I guess not.
Does he need Daryl to point that out to him?
I guess. I love Eric. I love Daryl so much.
It's the playoffs, Eric. What's wrong with you?
I find whenever a coach uses the reporter's name, it's almost always in a condescending manner. Whether it's, I guess that's what I'm saying, Brooksy, or Cooper talking to Joe Smith the other day. It was a little sharp with him, too. Yeah. So
I get what he's saying, though, about not necessarily want your 100-point guy fighting, especially kind of getting filled, too.
Sutter does.
Yeah, I know, but Raffle, I don't think Tkachuk expected that from Raffle, because you see the fight, and Raffle landed a few lefts on him. I was kind of surprised by that, and I think Tkachuk was too.
Yeah. Flames. I mean,
that's a good win when you're not filling the net.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You get your 1-0 win. Markstrom gets a shutout. You claimed all year you're a playoff-style team. You're defensive, you're physical, and you go get a defensive, physical win. That's the plan, right? Can you do that for 16 wins, 15 more? Not out of the question.
Overly surprised to see Washington take an early 1-0 lead in their series against Florida. Florida, come on, number one team in the East, and number one team in the league, right? President's Trophy.
President's Trophy champs.
You can't drop game one when you're the President's Trophy champs.
And they had a 2-1 lead with 11 minutes left.
Caps did not look overmatched for 1 minute in that game. They outshot them big time in the first, carried the play a lot of it. The goal that the first one that went in on Bennett was a bit of a stinker from Vanacek, but he played a little better throughout the game. And I don't know. I know it's one game. I'm not going to overreact, but I don't think it's going to be an easy one for I kind of feel bad for picking the Caps. What did I say? Cats in 5? I don't know. After watching that game, it had a different feel than I was expecting it to. Let's just say that.
Yeah. It was Oshie with the game winner with about 10 minutes to go. Kuznetsov. I mean, did you kind of Crosby-like feed to him?
Yeah. Oh, it was Backstrom that gave him the.
Oh, Backstrom. Yeah, I'm sorry, Backstrom.
Put it on an absolute
really fantastic Crosby-like feed.
And don't forget, before that, Ovechkin made a play on Uyghur to turn the puck over to get the breakaway for Kuznetsov. Their big guys stepped up in the big moments there. I do got to ask what Uyghur's doing there. Last guy back. Probably don't need to beat anyone one-on-one, but yeah. The host of a show like this should know, but when's the last time a team won the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup? Did Tampa do it in any of their years? I think it's been a long time. I don't know.
I think in 30 or 40 years there might have been 2.
Yeah,
3.
it's not super common.
Google.
Get to the goggles.
I'm furiously typing it now.
President's Trophy and Stanley Cup champions. Oh, by the way, we did it in 94.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It worked out for the rest of your career.
This article that I pulled up is from April 4th, 2010. So maybe I'll try again.
Okay.
Anything on St. Louis and Minnesota?
Nashville, Colorado, 2 was last night. Whichever one you want to do.
Well, that one's...
It's not even going to...
We'll get Daryl Sutter to the 8 days.
8 days.
They got
Enjoy your 8 days against Colorado.
8 days. So might be 6.
They've
had 2 already.
Yeah,
they're in their number 2.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving him much of a chance without UC Saros. They said he'll be out game 1 and 2, so maybe game 3. 2013 Blackhawks is the last team to win a President's Trophy and the Cup.
Yeah.
It's 9 years ago by my quick math.
And For Saros, it was Riddick.
Yeah.
In that. Like
save Dave. Some saves Dave. Make a save Dave.
Yeah, that's a big ask. Right. And before that, maybe 94. Which one?
08 Red Wings was
but
prior to that.
But prior to that. Do we go back to 94?
Stats department.
Okay, so
stats department Derek.
4.
Double duty.
So maybe 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah. Not that common anyway.
Not that common.
So see if the
All right, the Avalanche did it in 01, Detroit 02, Dallas in 99, and then it was the New York Rangers.
All right.
Edmonton and LA tonight.
Dun.
He's going back to Mike Smith.
Yeah, he's confirmed.
Yeah.
Mike Smith has lost like 9 or 10 games in a row in playoffs.
Yeah, yes.
The Oilers have lost 7 straight playoff games.
It's an uncomfortably large game for the Edmonton Oilers tonight.
Oh, great point.
Uncomfortably big.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at a blue line minus Drew Doughty. And outside of your Owen Soundboy Jersey, I'm having trouble recognizing anybody on that blue line. You can't tell me that McDavid and Draisaitl aren't going to soften up this blue line here.
Yeah. You know what's crazy is like the goals they scored. So the McDavid goal where he cuts above whatever the defenseman was, that kind of end-to-end rush there, the respect they're giving those guys off the rush. The LAD, you mentioned not exactly a superstar-laden group, are backed so far off this team. The Oilers should have tons of room. They really should have tons of room to work with. So I expect some offense from the Oilers tonight. They're the better team. I expect them to win. Right?
Yeah, they are.
Right.
Except, I don't know, Philip Deneau. Like, he's really good. He's way better than I thought he was, even in Montreal.
Yeah.
You guys know my pick. This is a scary.
You have LA, right?
I picked LA. Yeah. I think this is a very scary game. There are going to be some squeaky bums in Edmonton tonight at that game. They go down one early.
You know what? A trend. Maybe it's the gambling trend, but Bunting being announced, Mike Smith being announced. It's like usually we're used to game time decisions.
I do think that
are we getting more of these?
Like the NFL has rules about this for gambling purposes. You have to announce, I think. I mean, sometimes you genuinely don't know, so I don't know what they do in those instances. Like, I'm sure you've gone out for warm-up not knowing if you could play or not. Or we're going to be playing or not.
Yeah,
on the coaches.
I hated it. Yeah, everybody hates it.
It's the worst. Yeah, thanks. I put my stinky gear on. Now I got to shower again. Fire a couple of pucks.
I told you the story that I wasn't supposed to play, and I ended up playing, and I already had like
spicy pork and broccoli.
No, I had chili. I had 4 beers. I had 4 beers and a bowl of chili.
Shut up.
And I get a call from Eddie Olchuk saying, Keenan wants you to play tonight. And I'm like, I'm not the extra guy. You got an extra guy in warm-up. His name is Mike Hudson. He doesn't want Huddy. He wants you.
Well, then why is Hudson in warm-up?
And I'm like racing to get there. I'm like up to my neck in chili and Bud Lights.
Just a blood alcohol
and I go out
content
there
of
the
0.08.
first shift. I come back.
Did you puke?
I'm picking chili out of my jersey. You know the mesh holes in your jersey? I'm picking chunks of chili out of my New York Ranger jersey.
Oh, my God. That's awful.
Yes.
That's awful.
Yeah,
Well,
I could have been pulled over and blown over, I think, maybe. Would have been close. Don't drink and skate, folks.
What a league.
Scores tonight, Sammy.
3-2 Leafs.
Closer, eh?
Yeah.
I like 3-2 as the number.
I like you going Tampa? I think I'm going Leafs up 2-0 in the series. I like their energy.
All right, boys, I'm on board.
I did not like
3-2
Tampa's
Leafs.
energy in game 1. I'm not sure if the switch is there tonight for them.
I don't know if we've ever co-signed a score because it's not sexy, but I'm doing it. I agree with Sam. 3-2 Leafs.
Fun show.
A lot of food talk today.
Jimmy Ralph, Colby Armstrong, and most of all, you for watching and listening. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy game 2, everyone.